We all have blind spots, kind of looking like Mike Pence in a presidential debate with a fly on our head. We don't know what's going on in our lives. And sometimes we need people to help us a little bit and not being able to know what's going on. I want to talk about burnout tonight. I want to talk about our pace in life and how the pace that we set, we might know that we're burning out, but we don't know that it's the consequences that it's causing on us and other people. And I want to talk about one of the patriarchs in our faith, Moses. Moses is someone that you know, hey, you're going to lead the people out of Egypt, out of slavery. Moses, the one we know on the movie, you know, you're going to go to Pharaoh and let my people go. Moses, also the one who murdered somebody. Whoops. Big whoops. Big glaring whoops in the Bible. He had several flaws, as we see in Scripture, that the Bible shows the reality of what's going on in his life. And tonight I want to look at one where he almost burned himself out and also a lot of the other people around him. If you have your Bible, you can turn to Exodus chapter 18. Exodus chapter 18, and we're going to start in verse 23. They've left Egypt, they're out of slavery, and so they're kind of on this journey out of slavery to the promised land. Jethro is his father-in-law, and so his in-laws come in town to visit. And so I want to read, picking up in verse 13. And it says, the next day after the family came, Moses, he took his seat to hear the people's disputes against each other. So he could have hung out with the family, but Moses, he's like a lot of us. It's our Friday off, and what do? We go into work. All right, so his family, or maybe it's family, and he's like, you know what? I got to work. And so he goes in. They waited before him from morning till evening, and this is kind of describing Moses' workday. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, now he's not doing anything bad, he's doing something for the people. But this is what Jethro says. He says, what are you really accomplishing here? All right, let's just get real. Who has that know-it-all in-law? Don't point to anyone, but do you have an in-law, brother-in-law, father-in-law, mother-in-law? You're like, everyone's like, can I do this? Do you have a know-it-all in-law? All right. All right, so here's Jethro. What are you really accomplishing here? Why are you trying to do all this alone while everyone stands around you from morning till evening? Then Moses gives his explanation. He says, because the people stand around you from morning, or he says, because the people come to me. They come to get a ruling from God. When the disputes arise, they come to me, and I'm the one who settles the case between the quarreling parties. I inform the people of God's decrees, give them his instructions. And then he says, this is not good, Moses' father-in-law exclaimed. So Jethro is like, this isn't good. He's like, oh, snap, all right? Bring your father-in-law to work day has gone bad, all right? This experiment was not good. Let's end it, because Jethro's like laying the smack down. He's judging what's going on here. He says, you're going to wear yourself out and the people too. Your burnout affects more than just you. This job's too heavy of a burden for you to handle all by yourself. Now listen to me. Could you imagine how hard, I don't know their relationship, but he's just laying it out here. He says, listen, let me give you a word of advice. May the God be with you. You should continue to be the people's representative before God, bringing their disputes to him. Teach them God's decrees, give them the instructions, show them how to conduct their lives. But select from all the people, some capable people, honest men who fear God and hate tribes. Appoint them as leaders over groups of 1,000, 150, and 10. They should always be available to solve people's common disputes, but have them bring the major cases to you. Let the leaders decide the small matters for themselves. They will help you carry the load, making it the task easier for you. When you break those words down, he's basically saying it's like taking cargo off the ship. We got to get this ship a little bit lighter for you and for the others. And if you follow this advice, and if God commands you to do so, then you'll be able to endure the pressures, and all these people will go home in peace. I want you to go home in peace. I want to talk about the pace of peace tonight. Because most of us, we're on the pace to burnout. If we're not already there, we're on that path in the direction. I want to talk about the pace to peace. I saw a post this week, and I kind of related to it. I think you might too. I want to go ahead and put it up there. It says, working on your regular job while working on your own personal career, while working on yourself, while working out, while working on your relationship, while working on your friendships, while working on your personal goals, while trying to accommodate everyone, while trying to sleep. Anybody relate? Anybody. The path to burnout. We're at an unsustainable pace. And the pandemic, I believe, has only just put a microphone or a microscope, a magnifying glass on those issues that were already there. It just accelerated it about to 100. I'll give you an example. For me, is I knew I had anxiety, but the pandemic really showed me how much it had, and the way it would manifest itself was some worry and stuff like that, but a lot of the way it would manifest itself is doing stuff. Well, I just, we gotta do something. I gotta do something. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, which is I give me a list and I'll knock it out and I'll go and I'll do stuff. And so doing things, accomplishing something, even though I didn't know what to do, made me feel good, but it caused a lot of work for a lot of other people and maybe a lot of stress and tension too. It wasn't good. And then you have a day of anxiety that just hits you heavy, and you're like, I'm done. I can't move. Burning out. A lot of us, I would say, I wasn't overworked. It wasn't a workload thing that was burning me out. I wasn't working 80 hours a week or anything like that, but the anxiety was driving me to do things and worry about things and put me in a position of burnout. So burnout is not just working 60 hours a week. It could be a workload. It could be people-pleasing. You're burned out because you're saying yes to everyone, trying to make everyone happy and making no one happy at the same time. So you're going to have to do some deep digging tonight to figure out what is it that's causing you to be on the path to burnout, because I want you on the path to peace. For Moses in this situation, he needed to delegate. I mean, hey, we can get this, right? You're a leader. Delegate, all right? For some of us, maybe that's it. But for a lot of us, it might be something else. I want God to get after your insecurities. I think if you get to the root of this, why are you doing all the things that you're doing that are leading to burnout? The truth in that, the reality in that, might be like, oh man, you're gonna hit on some insecurities here. You're gonna hit on some deep wounds. I'm doing all the things because I'm trying to gain the approval of my dad, because I never got it when I was a kid. Like, that's some deep stuff that we have to work through here. But then we realize that's why I'm working so hard and driving myself, is because I want success. I want these things. You're going to have to figure that out. And for most of us, even though we've slowed down in the pandemic and things shut down, we're more tired and burned out than we've ever been. And I get it. We've had a bunch of change. We've had a lot of extra stuff and uncertainty thrown on it, but all of that, again, has just exposed and shown a light on where you are already headed in that direction. And newsflash, this is not the last crisis you're ever going to face. Crisis will expose what's going on underneath. The pressure will expose what's going on underneath. So I want to go through 4 things. I want to go through the acronym PACE, P-A-C-E. So if you're in with me tonight on the comments, or if you're taking notes, write this down. P is people. Number 1, people. How many of you know someone, show of hands, how many of you, no pointing, know someone who talks too much? All right? How many of you know someone who's lazy? Don't point to your teenager. All right? How many of you know someone who's angry? Don't point to your parents, teenagers. All right? How many of you know somebody who is stingy? Okay? How many of you know someone who's judgmental? All right? All right. I say all that kind of like the peanut butter. We can see the peanut butter on other people's faces. We can see it and recognize it and pick it up. Having the right people can help bring the right perspective in our lives. Like, this was a bad situation for Moses if his father-in-law can see it and his father-in-law was right. Like, he said, this is not good. And you're like, oh man, he's right here. Having the right person brought the right perspective. He was absolutely right. Moses was busy solving other people's problems, was he not? But he could not recognize the one that was happening right in front of him in his own life. This is why we got to get in a connect group. This is why you got to get surrounded with people in your church family who can help you in this race, in this run-to-win race that we're doing, in this life that we're calling and living together and taking next steps. Who it takes time to build those relationships, but Jethro was there, day 2. And it's like, this ain't good. We got to have the right people. You got to get yourself surrounded with the right people. And I know for some of you, you're already like, I can't get in a connect group because fill in the blank. It didn't work before. I tried that before. I poured a lot into it. I didn't really get anything out of it. Have you ever heard that? I went to that church. I stopped going because I wasn't getting fed anymore. And I get that, but we're totally missing the perspective. Spiritually speaking, if you want to get fed, you go feed people. If I want to come into a church or to a connect group with a consumer mentality, hey, you feed me in this group. I need this group to be about me and help me with my needs. You're going to end up getting burned. But if you flip that mindset to say, you know what, this isn't about what I can get out of it. I'm going to go and I'm going to love people. I'm going to share my story. I'm going to be vulnerable. And what you find out is, the more you give, oh man, you get blessed tenfold. That's why the leaders always grow more in a group, because they're trying to figure out, how can I help people? I want to challenge you, whether it's an online group. We don't have any in-person groups right now. We have a Zoom group. We have messenger groups. We have a hiking group. Seth, you're going hiking this week, right? I want to challenge you. Jump in a group. There you go. It's in the comments. But start connecting with people. People who are on this same spiritual journey path with you. It's so vital and important. You may be one conversation away from that addiction, being free from that addiction. You might be one conversation away from, you know what, I finally have some purpose in my life. I finally, I've been lonely and trying to create some relationships. You might be one conversation away from healing. People bring the right perspective. Jethro brought it in for Moses, and this leads to the second thing, which is admit. A is for admit. Admit what? Admit I don't know it all. Admitting truth. Admitting truth hurts. At first, a lot of times admitting truth, it might be freeing, but it's also like, man, I'm jacked up. This situation is not good. But eventually the truth will set you free, and it will lead you on the right path. Some of us were on the path to burnout because we won't admit the truth that's going on in our lives. Mike, if I don't work, if I don't have this job with this salary, or this is what our teenagers, if I don't take 4 AP classes this semester, then I won't get into what? And we lump all these things together, and I want to know, what is it for you tonight? What is it? This thing that we can barely define. Why you got to go at the pace that you're going? Why? What is it? Can you define it for me tonight? Because we will be a slave to it. If I don't do this, then I won't be successful. If I won't do this, I won't get the promotion. If I won't do this, then my team, my project, my boss. What is it for you tonight? The truth for a lot of us is, it is our identity. Why do you go to work all the time? Because without it, I don't know who I am. I tell you, I hit right at our insecurities. That's what I'm going after. It's easier at work. It's easier at work because they like me at work. I get praised at work. They say good job at work. I get paid well at work. I go home. I don't know how to handle what's going on at home. That is. I don't know how to. I don't have the answers. I don't have the solution. I can't solve it. Yeah. That's where the good stuff's at. That's where you start to grow. But we will avoid that. Home is like a mirror. Marriage is like a mirror. And sometimes we don't like what we see. Kids, parenting is like a mirror. You know, because you're like, who taught that kid to run around like that and say those things? Like, whose kid is that? That's my kid, and it's a little me running around. That's why we're so frustrated with them. Can you admit? Can you admit that God's not impressed with your PhDs? He's not. Can you admit in 2,000 years from now, no one's going to know your name? Like, wow, thanks, Mike. I'm just joining Freedom Church for the first time. So encouraging, right? It's kind of the point. It's called humility, to understand a right perspective on what's going on here. Why are you striving for the things that you're striving for? And is it the number one priority? Should it be the things that we're striving after? Moses spent more time with God than you did. And he could admit that he was wrong. He could admit that his work situation was jacked up. And he spent more time with God than you. He spent more time. He's like, you know what? You're right. I got to make some changes at work. The pace that we're on. C, oh man. I was like, what am I going to put in for C here? And then God showed me like 6 things. I'm like, well, I can't pick one, God. He goes, no, talk about all 6. All right, so buckle up. Here we go. He says, you're going to wear yourselves out. And the other people too. This job's too heavy of a burden for you to handle all by yourselves. Oh, I forgot something, by the way. Humility will bring focus. I'm going to go back. Let me go back to the admit. Humility. It takes humility to admit maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know all the things. That'll bring focus. It'll bring clear vision. It'll bring freedom. There was a lady she worked in hospice. She worked with like 95-year-olds, 90-year-olds, 100-year-olds. They're kind of in their final days, and she started asking them questions, and she started to notice some themes about them, about regrets that they had, and there was basically 2 that almost came up, and one of them, she said, all her male patients, 95 and above, regretted working so much. They missed childhoods, they missed family things, they missed experiences and moments because they were on the treadmill of work. And if they had to do it over, they realized, I work too much. I'm kind of bashing on work today, and I'm fine with that. I'm going to give you some hope in that a little bit, hopefully, maybe here in a little bit. But I think a lot of the reason that we're on the pace that we're on and we're at burnout is because we are in a produce consumer culture where you are not successful unless you produce something. And that's not necessarily lined up with Scripture. The C, you're going to wear yourselves out and the people too. This job is too heavy of a burden for you to handle all by yourself. Capacity. C stands for capacity. Priority determines your capacity. Some of the reason that you're not hearing from God in your life right now, and you're like, man, I just need to hear from God on this, well, you have no room for Him. He's a soundbite as you're listening to Caleb on the way to work. He's a quick little meme or a scripture that I can share or post, but it's not a relationship. And priority determines capacity. And some of us, we are at max capacity, which has led to fatigue. Here's how it goes for me. When I'm operating at max capacity, I'm tired, I'm fatigued. Then I'm irritable. When I'm irritable, I start getting frustrated, I can lash out. Then I start to just get indifferent. And eventually what it communicates, whether it's my spouse, my kids, or as we're trying to love Los Alamos, you have your loved one in 2021 where we've asked you, just love one person. Like, let's make Love Los Alamos practical. Find one person, one family this year, just love on them. But we'll take our fatigue, our burnout, our irritability, our indifference. That's where it leads to. Is just find, well, someone else can love Los Alamos. I'm dealing with me right now. And what that turns out to communicates, I don't care. A big fat, I don't care about what you're doing. I don't care about I got to deal with me. I can't deal with your issues because I'm burned out right now. Priority determines capacity. I have no capacity for you. I have no room for you because I'm at max capacity. Moses, you're going to burn the people out too, man. It's not just about you. Cease. Our souls need to cease. We need to rest. No trip, no pill, no drink is going to satisfy your soul. Cowboys fans, no Cowboys Super Bowl championship is going to satisfy your soul. You can go get all the stuff. You'll be happy. You'll enjoy it. But until your soul actually rests with Jesus and takes some time to get your eyes off of work, get your eyes off of your kids, and just get your eyes on Jesus to just say, where am I right now? Where are you right now? That might be what God is asking you right now. I want you to cease so you can see where you're at right now. You got to stop and take some time to just spend with God. Cease. Work. 6 days. 7th day, rest. Take a Sabbath. Work. Rest. Take a Sabbath. God, He can control work and the world just fine while you sit time and take time with Him. C stands for control. Now we're getting to it. I got to give up control now. This is about trust. Slowing down your pace. You're trying to control things. Pride, hello. We need humility. I'm trying to be God and control all the circumstances and all the things and manipulate them into what I think will work out best for me and my family. I got to give up control. I love how Jethro, he tells them this, but then he says, this is an invitation, Moses, to seek God. He says, if God commands you to do this, here's the advice, but I'm going to say, give control over to God, seek Him and let Him give control. If He commands you, do it. C stands for come. This totally reminds me of Jesus. Matthew chapter 11, He says, come to me. Come. You don't have to hide. You can just admit it and say, I'm weary. And in fact, it's a prerequisite. He says, come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you, say it with me, rest. Moses, you're carrying too heavy of a burden. It's too much for you and the people. You're going to wear them out and yourself. Jesus says, yeah, come. Come to me. I'll take care of it. Let me help you with that. And our immediate response is like, no, I can't let go. I can't let go. And he's like, no, that's the way you're going to be free. You're going to have to let go. Trust me. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you. I'm humble, gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your soul. Which Jesus also said, hey, what's more important? What's more important in this life than your soul? You could gain the whole world and still lose your soul. Last C, all of this points to Jesus on the cross. The cross. That's what we're celebrating in this Easter season. Now, as Christians, we celebrate it every day. We celebrate the cross, we celebrate the resurrection, but we highlight it. There's going to be people who will never come to church, but they are open to an invite. I don't know why, on Easter. The stats say around 70% are actually open to saying yes if you would just invite. That means if you invited 10 people to join you for Easter, statistically, roughly 7. But I mean, I would even take 3, right? You would take 3. Like, that would be awesome. They're open. I want to challenge you to invite somebody to Easter this year, be it online or in person, because they're more open at Easter and Christmas to say, okay, I'll go check it out. And we're just going to straight up tell the gospel story and let God do his thing. The cross, John 17:4 says, Jesus is he's not on the cross yet. He's praying. But he says, I brought you glory. I brought glory to you here on earth. He's talking to Daddy. By completing the work you gave me to do. Now, I have an issue with that. And I'm sure there's some people in those times that had issue with that. He says, I gave you glory by completing the work you gave me to do. And I'm like, time out, Jesus. There was still more people to heal. You only did 3 years of ministry, Jesus. Like, we got a long way to go, right? There's more people to heal. There's more people to get saved. You're not done, Jesus. You haven't completed the work. But he was at peace because he knew exactly what the Father had called him to do. You want to go from the pace of burnout to the pace of peace? Because it was anything but peaceful circumstances what was taking place. There was still more work to be done. But Jesus was in tune with his Father, and he knew this was why I came. The whole reason was the cross and the relationship, and he was prepared to complete that mission, and he had peace. Wouldn't you like peace in your life right now? Wouldn't you like more purpose in your life right now? That only comes from the Father. Truly comes from the Father. Jesus had it. Jesus had it. I'm sorry for throwing some shade at your work. Sorry, not sorry. But when you start operating in purpose like this, you see that PhD? It's an opportunity. That PhD was an open door. That $100,000 salary that you have, it was given to me so I can be a blessing to others. Now all of a sudden, that work environment that I'm in, it's a tool, it's a resource, it's an opportunity. It is a place for me to go and be who God created me to be. It is not about success is not that people will remember me in 2,000 years. Success is knowing that I honored God with the time that he gave me on these 80 years on this planet. That whatever he gave me, I honored him. And that'll turn anything that you have in your life, good or bad, into purpose. Success is knowing the one from 2,000 years ago. Did I know Jesus? And did I make him known to other people? Which goes to the last, the E, which stands for eternity. If you want a healthy pace, you got to understand that this 80 years that we have together here, there's eternity. Eternity starts today. The rest of your life starts today. The rest of your life, get this, is Jesus. He is the rest that you need. And we get to spend eternity with him. That's why Jesus says, he is the Sabbath rest. If we would just trust in him. You can spend the rest of your life chasing after these things and moving on a pace to burnout. You can spend the rest of your life chasing after moments. But I'm telling you, if you live a life of purpose, one that knows, hey, what God has given me is a blessing and a gift and a resource to point other people to him, they're chasing moments right now. Oh, I need this moment. I need this experience. I need this high. I need this in order to make me happy. You know it will never satisfy. And if you're a light to those people around you and you love them, in a moment, they're chasing moments, but in a moment, their 80 years is turned into 80 billion years together with Jesus in eternity. That's what our lives should be about. One that is marked with purpose. One that is pointing people to Jesus. Jesus was on the cross with peace. I've completed the mission you gave me to do. That's what I want for you and I. And I guess the question I want to ask, because I dug at some of your insecurities and I dug at some hard truths. Maybe God pointed something out to you and like, I don't like that. And I guess the question I want to ask is, as we leave here, says, I want you to go home in peace, right? Let the people go home in peace. But the peace that I want for you, are you going to change? Or tomorrow do we just jump back in the grind? Good message. Way to go. Funny, I laughed once. God trying to show me something. Are we actually going to change? Our mission at Freedom Church is to help people take the next step in their relationship with Jesus together. That's the last C, is change. This is about you and your relationship with your Creator. I can't. That's not me. I can't handle Rita's or my kid. This is your life. You got one shot at it. And God has something divinely appointed for you, to which you can say, nah, got something better. I think this is a better path, God. I know what you're saying, but nah, that's too hard, too uncomfortable. Or, no, I took a step of faith. Faith. And I'll go do it. Abraham, go to the place that I'll show you. Leave here, leave home, and go to the place I'll show you. And Abraham, by faith, took that step. I know me, and I know you. We like the opposite. No, show me, God, then I'll go. That's not faith. Faith is go, and then I'll show. Faith is not based on what you see and your current circumstances. He's going to call you to take a step of faith tonight. He's going to call you to take a step of faith tomorrow, because tomorrow, that's when the rubber hits the road, not tonight. You can leave here tonight and say, yep, Mike, I'm going to change. Tomorrow, will you? Tomorrow we'll see. I honestly have no idea what God's speaking to you tonight. I don't know what your next step is. It is so broad on how we are on this pace to burnout. Maybe we need to dig in some things a little bit more. Maybe, I just don't know. I don't know. I've prayed like crazy for God just to reveal something to you, but I've also prayed for your Monday. Would you take that next step? Would you celebrate it? Would you share the stories? Hey, here's where I was successful. Here's where I failed, but I'm still moving forward. I got back up and I'm going forward. That's the kind of stuff that God wants to see moving in your life. And you start living with that, live with that purpose, that pace will lead to peace. And that's what you want. Moses, he admitted it. You're right, Jethro. I got to change. And I'm assuming he sought God. I got to change. And he did it. And it turned out good for those people in that moment. Do you have peace in your current pace? Do you have peace in your current priorities? And I guess the number one question for some of you tonight is, do you have peace with God? Or are you trying to earn it? The beauty of the cross, the beauty of the resurrection is that Jesus paid the price for us for our sins. We're not perfect, we're flawed, we're messy. And he looks at that and he says, I love you anyway. He knows it. He says, I love you anyway. In fact, I will sacrifice my own life for you. I'll do the work. You just receive it like a gift, and let's journey for eternity together, starting today. That's it. And you can have peace in your life with God. But I think he wants more than that. He doesn't just save you. He wants to send us and go. All right, let's stand. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the message today. I hope you felt inspired to take your next step of faith with Jesus. Just a couple next steps that you can take coming out of this. One, leave a review or a comment or share this message. That really does spread the message further and faster when you do that. Secondly, if there's a next step that you need to take coming out of this, head on over to our website, click Get Involved, and let us know exactly how you can take your next step. We would love to partner with you in that. And finally, if you have been impacted in a positive way through our ministries, or your family has been impacted in a positive way through our ministries, go on over to our website and click Give. And if you want to partner with us financially, that would be huge in getting the message of Jesus out through our ministries. Thank you again for stopping by the podcast. Have a wonderful week. God bless.